On Christmas Eve, my family treated me like I was just their staff, forcing me to cook, clean, and serve while they relaxed. So I packed my bags, left the cottage empty, and flew to Rome to finally take my freedom back. My name is Michael, and I am 26. For most of my life, I believed that Christmas was supposed to be about family, warmth, and love. But in my house, Christmas was never about that. It was about appearances, about hosting dozens of guests, and about my sister showing off a perfect holiday gathering. And every year, I was the one expected to do all the work behind the curtain. Last year on Christmas Eve, my father handed me a list. He did it the same way a boss hands a worker instructions. He didn't even look at me, just pushed the paper into my hand like it was tradition. Clean the house, prepare dinner, wrap the gifts. Your sister's guests are expecting everything to be perfect. My mother glanced at me and laughed. Don't screw this up, she said, as if I were the family servant. They all acted like it was normal, like I was there only to serve them. That night, I smiled. Not because I found it funny, but because I already knew something they didn't. For the first time in years, I had made a different plan. While they expected me to work like their staff, I had secretly booked a one-way flight to Rome. That night, I sat alone in my room holding that list. It felt heavy, not because of the tasks written on it, but because of what it represented. For years, I had been treated less like a son, and more like a worker hired to keep their holiday image alive. I thought back to the times after I graduated college, when they guilt-tripped me into staying at home instead of moving out. They said, "You owe us for raising you. You can help with the bills until you're stable." But stability never came. Every paycheck I earned slowly became part of their budget. My money paid for groceries, utilities, and even my sister's random trips or luxuries. They didn't ask me. They just took it for granted, and I was too tired to fight back. I remember thinking about all the Christmases before. I would be running around the house, cleaning rooms, wrapping gifts until my fingers hurt, and cooking meals while my sister sat with her friends, laughing, drinking, and taking pictures for social media. In every photo, we looked like a perfect happy family. But the truth was hidden. Behind every shiny ornament and every dinner plate, it was my effort, my energy, my sacrifice that kept it together. And no one ever said thank you, not even once. So that evening, as my parents scrolled on their phones and my sister sent out invitations, I told them I would drive to the cottage a day early to prepare everything. They nodded without even looking at me. It was clear they did not care about me, only about the work I would do. But they didn't know that instead of driving to Vermont, I would be sitting on a plane, flying to Rome. I had saved for months, silently and patiently. I sold off some of my things, took extra hours at work, and hid the money. I never spoke about it because if I had, they would have found a way to guilt me into spending it on them. It wasn't much, but it was enough to cover 2 weeks abroad. For years, I had dreamed of seeing Rome, of walking on streets that carried history older than anything back home, of feeling free for even a few days. And now, finally, the chance was in my hands. When I landed in Rome, something strange happened. My chest felt lighter, as if a weight I had carried my entire life had fallen away. For the first time, I had no to-do list. No one was waiting to hand me instructions. I stepped out of the airport with just a backpack on my shoulders, looked around at the streets, the language, the energy, and realized I was finally living a life for myself. I stayed in a small Airbnb, nothing fancy, but it was cozy. The first morning, I walked down narrow streets where lights still glowed from Christmas decorations. The city was both quiet and alive at the same time. I visited churches whose names I didn't even know, sat on benches watching strangers pass by, and ate fresh pastries from a corner bakery while listening to conversations I couldn't understand. But for the first time, I didn't feel alone. I felt free. Back home, I imagined the cottage sitting empty, the guests arriving, expecting warmth, music, and dinner, only to find cold rooms, unlit fireplaces, and nothing prepared. Around noon, I sent a single message to my family, "Merry Christmas, wishing you peace, wisdom, and a touch of humility. I am not there and I will not be. I am spending the holiday somewhere I am appreciated." Please do not call. I will return January 3rd. Love, Michael. Then I turned my phone off. Those 9 days in Rome were the freest days of my life. But deep down, I knew the real storm was waiting for me back home. When January 3rd finally arrived, I boarded the plane back home. The moment the tires touched the runway, my chest grew heavy again. As soon as I switched off airplane mode, my phone buzzed so hard it felt like it would explode. Dozens of missed calls, voicemails, and angry messages poured in. My mother had written things like, "Do you know how embarrassing this was for us?" My father wrote, "You better have a damn good explanation." My sister had sent one short message, "They sold your car. Hope your little vacation was worth it." Reading those words, I realized something important. They didn't care about me. They only cared about control. When I finally walked into the house that evening, the atmosphere was cold and tense. My mother stepped out from the kitchen first, not to say hello, but to shout my name like I had broken into the house. My father appeared behind her, his face red with anger. My sister slowly came down the stairs in pajamas, looking exhausted and irritated. Within seconds, they all began yelling. Questions and accusations flew across the room without pause. Where were you? Do you think this is a joke? You humiliated us in front of everyone. Your sister had to do everything alone. How could you be so selfish? For the first time in my life, I didn't defend myself. I sat there quietly and let their words wash over me like a storm. When they finally stopped to breathe, I told them the truth. I told them I had gone to Rome with my own money, that I wanted to spend Christmas somewhere I was treated like a person instead of a servant. I reminded them of the bills I had paid, the hours I had worked, and the sacrifices I had made without a word of thanks. I told them they didn't miss me as a son, they only missed what I did for them. My mother rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic. My father called me immature. My sister even laughed under her breath and said I was in my main character phase. Something snapped inside me at that moment. I realized nothing I said would ever matter to them. They didn't want to listen. They only wanted me back in the role they had written for me. So I stood up. I walked upstairs to my room and pulled out the 2 duffel bags I had already packed before leaving for Rome. Somewhere deep down, I think I had always known this moment would come. When I came back down with my bags, they stared at me in silence. No one tried to stop me. No one asked where I was going. They just watched as if I were a stranger. I called a cab, waited at the door, and when the driver arrived, I left without saying goodbye. That night, I slept at my girlfriend's apartment. She opened the door, saw the bags, and without asking a single question, she simply stepped aside and hugged me. For the first time in years, I felt safe. I fell asleep on her couch, and for once, my sleep was deep and peaceful. The next days were difficult but clear. I changed my bank accounts, blocked their numbers, and started searching for my own apartment. Within a week, I signed a lease on a small place. It wasn't fancy. Creaky floors, beige walls, and a mattress on the floor, but it was mine. When I held the keys in my hand, I finally felt real freedom. I could breathe without guilt. Of course, my family didn't stop trying. They sent more messages, tried calling from different numbers, even threatened legal action to demand money for raising me. But a lawyer friend told me they had no case. It was just another way to control me. That day, I sat on the floor of my tiny apartment with my girlfriend, eating takeout noodles from a paper box, and I realized something powerful. For the first time in my life, I was free from them. No more to-do lists, no more guilt, no more being treated like staff instead of a son. Just silence, peace, and a future I could finally build for myself.